The Atari 800 XL. This was actually my second computer. My first computer was its younger brother, the Atari 400. It was back in 1983. I'd been hassling my parents and my elder brother that I wanted to get a computer, obviously for educational purposes. And my elder brother, Donal, was working for his company over in Huddersfield in the UK for 1983. And before he came home at Christmas, he brought with him a Atari 400. Now, the Atari 400 was brought out in CES at 1979. And in 1983, when he brought it back, he paid £100 for it. Now, that was a huge amount of money back then. So I got an Atari 400. It had 16K of RAM, and obviously when you powered it off, it lost everything. So you got games and on cartridges, and the operating system came on a cartridge. You plugged in the cartridge and ran it. After a couple of years, I'd saved up enough money to upgrade myself to an Atari 800 XL, its big brother. And this was the most successful Atari that Atari had back then. This was a huge improvement. It had 64K of RAM, which was a massive amount at the time, and it had 24K of ROM. So the actual operating system was built in. So that's what you see here. So you could type commands straight away. I got a tape cassette with it because in addition to getting the games on a cartridge, the cartridge is basically a ROM chip with the software burned onto it. But you'd buy lots of games on cassette tape. And you'd basically put the cassette into the cassette player, type C-load, and it would load the cassette. Now, it might, depending on the size of the game, it could take 15 minutes, it could take 45 minutes. And 2 out of every 3 times it would fail halfway through and you'd start again. So it could take you a couple of hours before you get a game running. Ah, the joys of it back then. But at the time, this was, extraordinary. The Ataris were all based on CPUs from MOS technology. They were a 6502 and they were running at something like 1.8 megahertz. Now, 1.8 megahertz, 64K of RAM. You compare that to what we have today in a mobile phone, it was a different world. But back then, this was incredible. Now, just to show you how all this stuff works, let's try Donkey Kong. Here we go. Donkey Kong. Now, the controllers back then were slightly different to what you get today. They were pretty basic. So you'd up, down, left, and right. And away we go. But man, I spent many, many hours of my childhood or teenage years playing computer games. Oh no, I'm still not very good.